Welcome, everybody, to Black Love When We Met. I am so honored to be hosting this series. Your host here, Trey Holiday, and I have a beloved couple. I'm telling y'all, from my childhood is in the building tonight. But I just got to send a special shout out to all of you who have been pouring your love into Black Love When We Met. I have been getting so many calls and emails about this show right here. So I'm so glad that this show is inspiring you all out there and really providing some positive stories of our Black families. Also, got to give a shout out over to our partners at the State Hotel. Let me tell you, the beds are comfy and the rooms are nice. Overlooking Pike Place Market, truly a Seattle staple. Thank you so much for providing us a stay for all of our couples here on Black Love When We Met. Also, a huge shout out to Alvin Ailey coming to the theaters to Paramount on the 26th and 27th of this month. And our couples all will get to go to that show as well. And a huge shout out to Presidential Transportation for providing that Black car service. Let me tell you, it is exceptional, and all of his drivers know how to treat their guests and their customers just right with a real touch of Seattle excellence. So I'm telling you, I'm excited. You guys, I got my girl Latrice and my guy Kenny in the building. What's up, y'all?
Hey,
The Wyatts are in the house.
absolutely.
Yes.
The Wyatts.
Well, you guys have been seeing. I mean, I'm telling couples now as the week goes on. I'm like, you guys got it easier, right? The first couples were like, "What am I up for? How is this conversation going to work?" But in the title, we really want to start at the beginning. And I know for you guys, it starts many years ago. Tell us about kind of that beginning. I'll start with you, Latrice. Give us your recount of how you and Kenny started this love connection.
Yes. So I want to really tell a really funny story. I actually first met Kenny. I was 13. It was the summer or the spring before high school. It had to
Yeah.
be because I was at Washington Middle School. He was at Meany. And we were at my grandmother's house, and my aunt told my cousin Raymond, my cousin Bryant, that if he wanted to go to this house party, he had to take me along. The party was at his grandma's house on 19th in the CD. And I just remember the first time I seen him. And I was just like, oh, he is so cute. He had this beautiful smile and this cocoa brown skin. And he had these dimples. And he was just the cutest. He really was. Little round face. He was really short too then, by the way. Yeah, he was extremely short. He shot up to like 6 feet after a summer. But it was a whirlwind. I remember feeling all the feelings. We had classes together at Garfield High School, always were friends, right? And what happened, I think, when something really started, well, for him, it ignited first because I seen him at Rainier Community Center. We were at a late night and he was hooping and I was, with dancing and just kicking it. And he wasn't feeling the best. He was sitting on the stairs of Rainier Community Center. And I remember going to check on him and I noticed it was him. And I'm like, what you doing out in these parts, right? Like, how you doing? What's wrong? And he told me, and I went and got him some water. And I just felt so much compassion for him at that moment. Like, I really just want you to feel better. And I hope you feel better. I'm going to go back inside. And I remember giving him a kiss on his cheek or his forehead or somewhere. Just, very friendly. And that was it. And from there, he'll have to tell you how he felt from there. Because I don't even know. I remember us writing notes to each other and walks home. And it just blossomed from a friendship into just this extremely intense, deeply rooted, passionate love that people who are older than us and around us thought that we were experiencing too heavy for our age at the time. Right. And so, but we knew what we had was real. Like, there's no doubt in our minds. We loved each other how we knew what love to be at that age.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So
That
that's my
says a
quick
lot.
recount from the beginning.
I love it because, I got to experience you guys at the high school level and everybody knew it was Latrice and Kenny, right? Like, I mean, so for me, I was trying to remember and do my own recount of like, well, at what point did I realize like they were a couple? And it was hard for me to pinpoint it. So how was that beginning for you, Kenny?
Um, the beginning for us started as she mentioned. It started on at Rainier Community Center. I wasn't feeling the best, and like she said, she came out on the steps. She was being consoling, and she had kissed me. It was that kiss when she kissed me. I was just like, it was just like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? Like I'm having this feeling, like I'm coming to life almost. But it was the circumstances had it that I wasn't coming to life. I was still kind of under a little rut, and from there, that kind of just piqued my interest in her. And I remember the twins. Shout out to Mario and Carlos Rodriguez. That was the house party. We threw the house party at 549 19th Avenue, where we first met. I was 14 at the time. She was 13. But it was Mario or Carlos. They were like, Latrice during high school. Like, Latrice, remember that night, Latrice? Because I kept talking about it afterwards. Like, man, bro, she kissed me. And but it was like some things where we had connections that kind of was kept us from, keeping that kind of kept us from wanting to emerge more as a couple. And I just kind of took that leap, like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. We had the same class. It was American government, and I remember writing letters back and forth to her in class, and then we would leave class. We would be in the hallways, and things just kind of built from there. And like she said, it was intense.
Shout out to the annex.
Yeah, it
That
was.
doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it was intense. It was intense early on, and it just kind of grew from there.
Well, I think back then, especially in high school times, I mean, I have a high school child right now, right? And I think about it because this is his first year with a girlfriend. And he's experiencing some of the stuff you guys are talking about, just like this intensity. And I'm like, all right, be easy. It's okay.
Right.
You can calm it down. But part of that is also how you guide it and how you are molded in that regard. And, high school is just an era of life where you really come into your own. It's like you understand so much about yourself at that point, but then there's so much left to learn. And, I remember seeing y'all walking through the halls, matching outfits. I mean, you guys really embodied like what it looked like to be a fun couple in high school. So at what moment did you guys go from like, okay, sharing notes and, this kind of walking to being like, no, you know what? Like it's going to be me and you. At what point did that happen?
So his memory serves quite better than mine. However, I do remember sitting on my aunt's couch where my father was living at the time. And I remember us having this very intense conversation. I remember we just used to walk a lot. We used to just, we were always on the bus.
Yeah, we didn't have transportation.
We didn't have transportation. So unless you had mom's Jeep,
Yeah.
which was the vehicle. However, just, gosh, I can't remember the moment. It was 22 years ago.
Yeah.
20, no. Oh,
Longer.
yes,
Yeah.
much longer. About 25 now, almost. But I want to say it was one of those moments, just sitting there kind of like, man, we got to stop playing because we couldn't stay away from one another. It was so intense we just couldn't stay away from one another. I just remember always wanting to be with him, like every waking moment, just being with him. And yeah.
Well,
Do you remember?
that's part of it too, right? Because I think one of those things we deal with in high school is all of this competing attention. And at some point you kind of zero in on, all right, you know what? I'm going to take this to the next level because there's a lot of girls around. There's a lot of guys around. And so at some point you got to really be like, you know what? I'm zeroing in. How was that for you, Kitty? Because at some point you really fully zeroed in on Latrice.
Right. It was around junior year when I finally was just like, I'm just gonna go for it, regardless of who may be in their feelings about it. And it was just something I had to go for because the feeling that I felt, like she said, was just so intense. There was no way to be separated from her. Like we talked for hours on the phone, like literally hours. And it was just, I knew then early on that this is somebody that I wanted to be with, like for the rest of my life. Like I had earlier girlfriends, little situations that lasted 2 months, a week or something here. You know how those high school relationships were. But with her, it was different. I recall early on, like I couldn't get mad at her. Like it was like her energy like disallowed me from getting angry. And it was just, she was just special. That's pretty much, I can only sum it up in words, is she was just special, and I felt that in my being. So I had to go for it, and here we are.
Well, look, I mean, this is exactly what this is about. What I'm really gaining from the entire series thus far is the unique nature of that moment when you that light bulb goes off. Like, wait a minute, I don't know that I can really be kind of without this person, or, wait a minute, this is something next level. Because as you said, you've experienced these other kind of relationships, they die off, they start and then they're done. But you guys were like, look, we're going to do this. And you put some intentionality behind it. And that helped to carry you through, because you start in junior year, but you guys were together from junior year up to senior year. So how was that maturation of your relationship early on when you guys get to senior year? And now it's like all of these other life choices are coming your way, because you got to decide, okay, what am I going to do after high school, right? And how did that play out in you guys' relationship?
So there's a few things I recall. My mother passed 8 days after I turned 16. So I actually ended up moving south with some other family, and they thought it was best that I attend Rainier Beach. So that's the reason why senior year, I started at Garfield, but I ended up at Rainier Beach my senior year. And that was very challenging. Not only to be away from him, but to be away from Shonda and Cherie and, the crew. And so I used to cry. Like I was just it was very, very traumatic for me to be away from everything that I knew. And so I remember I feel like it created some gaps in confidence in our security of our love for one another, because here I am, the new girl. Obviously, there was a lot, coming at me. There was stuff going on. He was getting petitions and questions from people who knew we were together, right? And so then that's, now we're having problems. They're like, hold up, time out, let me make a quick, run up to the school real quick, which I did several times. So that started to breed that as well. So although our hearts were still very much intertwined and we were very intense and passionate about one another, it also created almost some insecurities and the lack of confidence in our bond. So we had to work a little bit harder with that. So
yeah. I mean, if you're talking about this opening up those kind of floodgates, and this is what I mean in terms of the high school environment is just different. I mean, I feel like it's so unique. It's very different than even a collegiate environment where maybe there's a little bit more respect, right? In high school, it's like, man, now is the time for me to shoot my shot, right? So this idea of, okay, this separation then makes people forget, because maybe they're just not seeing you walk the halls together anymore. So it looks like, ooh, okay, new person on the block at Rainier Beach. And then Kenny, you're like, dang, my hand holder, she's not here. So how was that for you too, as you were dealing with that floodgate, and what kind of things do you think you had to do at that time to keep it together?
I don't know if I did really keep it together. I did as best as I could. Even though we were so young, the maturation of the love we felt for each other was almost like beyond our years. But the level of maturity that I had at the time caused me to react about what I knew was so special in her in ways that now that I would probably talk about it instead of acting out, wanting to fight everybody. That was, like she said, it started developing insecurities because we wanted to hold on to each other so much because we didn't want to let that go. And also we were just young, like we didn't really have much experiences, like you said, and you're getting petitions left and right, like high schools, the floodgates are open, and it was
even more as
and
young adults.
yeah, and it was difficult, yeah, and even as young adults, like it was like we were literally like crazy in love, and wanting to hold on to that by like any means, and yeah, we both probably stooped to levels that we probably shouldn't have. But in the long run, it was just us almost. It was our early love language, or displaying that type of affection that we had towards each other, letting us know that we got to keep this together, regardless of who's coming this way, who's coming that way. We want to keep this thing strong as much as possible, even though we still have a whole lot of life ahead of us to live, and we don't even know what that entails yet, So
We couldn't even see that though.
yeah, we couldn't.
We knew it was him and me. That's it. It's us. We even talked about getting married then, wedding then, even had our colors
We did.
signed. Like,
did.
So even at what, 19?
Yeah,
19,
like 18,
20,
19.
21, 22, we knew exactly what it was going to be.
I remember buying a promise ring.
Yes, it was double-hearted.
From Pearson Pagoda.
That's right.
From Pearson
Look, that's
Pagoda.
what you could do with the resources.
That was the resources that I had at the time.
That is hilarious.
But I remember that. But that was also me, taking that step and letting her know, like, look, I'm serious about locking this down right here. And all you other do is you guys better back off. Back off, like right now. So
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember when I did that, like her family they're like, Ken, you making big man decisions now. Like, you gonna be part of the family? I'm like, yeah, and they always accepted me as as family. I was always their one, I guess you could say.
Well, that really leads me to my next question, because I always want to know. I mean, you guys are talking about family kind of embracing this, but it's not always easy in the beginning, because again, there's these, built-in assumptions or stereotypes around young love, and how you just don't know what you're doing. Right. you just in puberty, you just feeling some type of way. So how did you guys ensure that your family understood how serious you were about each other, so that they could, embrace it in a way that allowed them to support you guys as best they could? How did you guys kind of deal with that early on family dynamic?
That's a great question. I think it's a twofold, because we had some family that was like, it's just Latrice and Kenny. That's just what it is. They supported it. It was just what it was. And there wasn't any combativeness about, with that. There wasn't any feelings, negative feelings regarding us from some people. But then you had some family members who reminded us we were too young, which is part of the reason why we actually broke up in our young adult years. One of my family members would constantly tell me that, basically, for the lack of better words, I could do better, or that I needed to experience something else, because this was all that I knew.
The nerve. So
we were each other's first everything. And so this is all we knew, right? And so, they were like, basically, you should probably explore different avenues. And they opened my eyes up to so many different things, travel, and like a lot of different things, which was really hard for him as well. That was probably the only situation that I can think of that was really to our detriment, other than everyone else was just always for us, always for us. Thought we were young, but always for us.
Well, I mean, was there something different that played out in your family, Kenny, or was Was it kind of similar? Did you have this kind of split where it's like people knew Latrice was going to be in your life, but maybe others were maybe telling you similar things? How was that for you?
Well, in my family, it was pretty much, they were gonna support, you know, whatever decisions that I was gonna make, and there was maybe a family member that would, try to throw caution to the wind. I guess like you're young, you got a full life ahead of you. Don't jump into this too fast. You got to be, when you make these type of decisions, you got to make sure that you're really ready to make this decision moving forward. And hindsight's 2020. I get it now. And as far as the family members that didn't agree with our love back then on her side, that were whispering in her ears, I could see that. I could see it more clear now, but at the time, it created a disdain for me, towards them. And I, like, to this day, I still kind of hold on a little bit, because I'm like, if you guys only knew, what or how I felt about her, you wouldn't have felt that way about me. And I mean, it is what it is. We can celebrate now and laugh about it now today, being where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's why you guys' story has such a unique twist. It's one of those things where clearly you guys saw each other at a young age. There was this interest, and you guys bet on yourselves, right? In that regard. And so you're talking about, after high school, you guys were still together. You guys still young life. I think that that's where, a lot of family really puts that on you to explore certain things. So I'm not even surprised to hear that, honestly, Latrice, but it's one of those things where, it's on us, that onus is on us to say, well, what do we really want here? And how do we persevere through it? And you guys definitely did that. And so after this short break, we're going to talk about how your love kind of took off and blossomed, and the things that you guys had to go through to get to where you are today. You guys stay tuned after this short break. You're watching Black Love When We Met. Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
Hi, this is Robert Battle, Artistic Director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and we're thrilled to be performing live on stage again. Come see the extraordinary Ailey dancers during my 10th anniversary season and enjoy some wonderful new work, plus returning audience favorites, including Revelation.
Welcome back to Black Love When We Met. I am sitting here chopping it up with my family in the building. I got the Wyatts in the house, Miss Latrice and Mr. Kenny. What's up, y'all?
What up?
You guys have really set a great foundation in terms of that young version of your love, right? Young people coming together as teenagers, going up through your early 20s and really saying, we had some things that we had to overcome and persevere through at that time. But how was it as you guys now, young 20s, young adults, out of high school, what did it look like in terms of the next layers of your life? Was it like, school? Was it work? Was it, hey, how do we keep on doing this? Tell us a little bit about what you guys were thinking at that time. I'll start with you, Kenny.
Yeah. The growth of our relationship, it matured into more almost like craziness, I guess you could say, because we were getting to a point where life was coming at us. And like we could kind of see almost like the writing on the wall, like life was somewhat separating us a little bit, but we still were trying to hold on. And I recall going to Yakima Valley to play basketball, and I was coming home like every weekend to see her. Like I was just like homesick. It was like I couldn't be without her. And also just me trying to find myself after high school was a difficult time for me. And it was like a real dark time for me, if I could say. And yeah, just knowing that I had that love at stake and then trying to find out who I was, it was kind of driving me a little bit crazy. And yeah, we had to overcome some obstacles, and ultimately things, she kind of went that way, I went that way, but we always knew that there was always still something there regardless. Before anything, we were friends, so you know that never goes anywhere.
Well, yeah, tell us your side of this, because clearly there's some things you guys are overcoming, but this wedge of life kind of making it, you know, hey, maybe we need to put this on hold and keep our friendship alive. How was that?
Yeah, it was real. And I think that's honestly when that family member's ear became the voice became really louder than mine, right? And my heart still felt what it felt. We had a circumstance that actually, I feel like that if it wouldn't have happened, we would have ended up back together. But after that happened, everybody's voice was loud. Like, see, this is why you need to do something else, or see, this is why you shouldn't have been with him, or see, this is this, you know, this is that, and you need to move on with your life. But our hearts ties never properly separated, because it was so deeply rooted that his absence was the reason why I moved on. I never had to deal with it because of his absence. So I didn't even have to deal with it. I just moved on with my life, right? Thinking that was the best thing because of that traumatic experience of him leaving. And I think that is where we really disconnected, because life took us in two different paths. But had he been home, we definitely would have been back to, there's no doubt in my mind. He was, even as we were starting to separate and life was driving that wedge in between us, he would not let me go. And so and I allowed him, you know, I wanted it, but I didn't want it, you know, because I'm thinking, you know, I got to listen to everybody else. Right. And so I just made the decision that I thought was best. And yeah.
At that time, I mean, so many people know about your guys' story, right? Like clearly there's this huge thing, and we had obviously Blaze and Danica on, and we talked about how you go through a situation, it pulls you onto the inside in terms of prison. Can you tell us a little bit about that for you? Because I mean, that right there is, I think, one of those unique nuggets about the two of you and what you guys have really had to overcome to get to the other side where you are sitting right now.
Right. Yeah, that was difficult too. I remember like the very first phone call that I made after I got booked and I was in King County Jail was to her late father. And one of the things that I had said to him, one of the very first things I said to him was, man, I'm not going to be able to marry your daughter. And he was just like, you know what, Kenny, you don't need to focus on that right now. Like, you need to focus on, you know, what's going on right now and try to make the best out of this situation you possibly can. And he gave me some advice to get through. But I still, I don't even think I've let her know, like throughout that time, she was a coping mechanism for me, like for real. Because you think inside the prison, you're in an environment where it's a daily struggle, constant daily struggle. And so you reflect and reminisce on the times that were best. And most of the times that were the best for me involved her. So that helped me get through. Yeah, it really did.
That was,
Yeah.
hey, you didn't tell me that.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what? I mean, that right there is the unique piece of it all, because you're so right in terms of what keeps you grounded when you don't have much else to keep you grounded, right? And so I've heard similar recounts of that. Like, I had to try to remember or pull myself together, particularly for those who go through that at a younger age, right? And just listening to those stories about some of the things that they're like, man, this is what is going to push me through, because when I get out of here, I'm about to do X, Y, Z. I'm about to blow, you know what I mean? I'm about to pour my everything into everything I have. How was this for you? Because even as you guys have separated, the bond was still there, Latrice. And I know for me, I mean, Kenny was my guy. I'm like, this is, I mean, so many of us were just outraged. You know what I mean? Like, let's show up to the court. Like, there was so much of a rallying cry, I think, from so many of us at Garfield to be like, no, never. Like, our God, right? This kind of us taking it on. But it had to be something completely different for you because of your intimate connection. So even as you're like, man, okay, I got to do this, and those voices are there, how was it for you internally to really maneuver through that?
If I can be 100% honest, I masked it. I had started dating someone else, and I just chose that relationship at the time, and I just moved on. I remember going to see him before he had got sent up, and I knew there was some young ladies that were interested and that were willing to just be there, and I'm like, well, I guess because of everything that was going on, I could not see myself in the position with what he was facing at the time. It was also traumatic. Like, I literally masked it all and just pushed my life forward.
Wow.
I just pushed my life forward.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, I get that there's that. And I guess it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I just moved forward with my life. But, I think I didn't really deal with it until I got the phone call. I was sitting at my aunt's house. And at the time, I was having some issues in my marriage because we both were married and divorced before we reconnected. And so I was sitting on the couch at my aunt's house and got the call that he came home. Nobody knew he was coming home. His whole story, just how he was released from prison in itself, is just a blessing, just a favorable,
It's unprecedented.
Yeah, it's very unprecedented. And so, my heart, just anxiety, immediate anxiety. I'm trying to gather myself. My family is crying, going crazy, because there's never been a disconnect between him and my family. My brother, his first cousin that he grew up with in the house, best friends, like everybody still, our grandmothers were still intertwined, talking on the phone. And so everybody's in an uproar and crying and driving to his grandmother's house. And my brother's like going to get his daughter so he can take his daughter to meet him for the first time. And I'm just sitting there like, he's not supposed to be home. So I never had to deal with it. So I never even thought about any of it because he was out of sight, out of mind, right? And so, girl, I just remember that when I tell you, it was like watching myself. I was outside of my body and I'm watching everybody around me react to him being home. And I had so much anxiety around, maybe he just won't call me. Maybe he'll just never call me. I won't ever have to deal with it. He's married. He didn't know about my situation at the time, but he was married, and I was like, he's not gonna contact me anyway, right? And this is gonna be fine. But I had to deal with it. And I was like, what is this that's rising up? Like, what is this that I feel? Right? Because I thought there wasn't anything for me to feel anymore. This is old news. This is history. Why am I feeling like this? And I think, and I suppressed that. And it wasn't until sometime later, at some point, it was like, oh my God, I can't live without you. Oh my God. Where have you been all my life?
Aw.
So,
Well, clearly, Kenny, like I said, hearing some of these, I love these stories of our brothers and sisters getting out with these different circumstances. Tell us a little bit about that, because you were locked up for how long? And then tell us what it looked like in terms of, you finding somebody and being able to be married while you were in there,
Right.
and then getting released.
Yeah. So I did 13 and a half years straight. I was sentenced to 393 months, which comes out to 32 years, 9 months. And off that, I get a 10th off. It would have came out to about like 29 years. I was supposed to get out in like 2036. And so after we disconnected, before I went in, I was just running amok pretty much. And there was nobody that can equate, to this value that I knew was there. And it was a struggle. It was really a struggle. And she might not have believed that I really wanted her, given the things that I was doing. But I was just like, there's nobody adds up to her, period. And even with the situation that I was in, it was always a constant, I'm putting her on a pedestal. Or I resisted the situation, because the value that I knew was there was much greater. And I didn't want to abuse, a person or take advantage of somebody. But fate had it, the person won me over. We decided to get married, and, she rocked with me. And even though she rocked with me, me and Tree stayed in contact. I would let her know that, hey, I contacted Trees. I was open about it, transparent. And, she didn't agree with it.
let the record state that I constantly told him, stop contacting me, because she don't know about it, or if she do,
No, I was telling
don't be contacting me.
Yeah, I was telling her. I was transparent. That was something. It was like, there was no reason for me not to be, transparent. And because I already knew that pretty much I felt like that ship had sailed. And if anything, I still wanted that friendship between us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, after that 13 and a half years, I got out. I made a phone call to Treese. We talked. It was probably for maybe an hour 45 straight. And we didn't even realize we had talked that long. And after I hung up, it was like, it was cool talking to her, but I didn't put any more value on it than it just being me catching up with her, because it had been a while, since we communicated. But that feeling of looking at my phone like, man, I want to call her. Like, man, I want to call her. Like, nah, I can't call her. Just like, man, I want to call her. It was just like I couldn't really stay away. And that friendship, that we always had, pretty much was it, what kept us glued, and what kept us pretty much saying, like, we can't live without each other, like, period, regardless of when what happened from this time to that time and who was with who. We just can't go without each other, period. And so, we ended up just taking that step, like, this is what it is, and this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah. It was really funny too, because when he first came home, we had talked and had our moment, but it was just like it didn't feel like anything other than two friends catching up, right? He didn't know at the time that I was already in the process of getting a divorce. My husband at the time was moving to another state. It was kind of already like trying to figure it out. It wasn't working out. I had even told his grandmother not to tell him because I didn't want anything to disrupt what he was already dealing with, because he was already trying to figure his situation out. And so I didn't want to be any part of that. So at one point in time, I told him, after this, I think I said I was going to fade to black. I'm like, yeah,
She
it was
did. She
nice
did.
to see you. I'm glad we had a chance to catch up. But yeah, like, it's not appropriate, so don't hit me up. And I think he had made a joke at the time. And at one point in time, he was like, yeah, but he had made a joke, what, I know where you live now, or I know where you work. It was something else super funny. And I was just like, get out of here, right? But at one point, when we had made the decisions to make the decisions, his divorce actually was final before mine. Yeah, that's a different story. But he made the decision to truly pursue me. And it was at that moment, like he said, where he was like, I had to think in my mind, no matter what I choose over here, I don't ever not want to be connected to you, even as a friend.
Yeah.
And I think if he stayed connected in any way to anyone else because of how he feels about me, there's no one in their right mind that's comfortable with him, with me being present in any capacity. Right. And so him making the decision to say, you know what, I choose you over everything, was huge for me. Right. To say, oh my goodness, like, I knew you loved me. Like, everybody know you love me, but you love me. Right. So it was overwhelming. I feel like, my goodness, it was like we were 17 all over again. Like, but we understood at that point what love was, and what I valued the most was that Kenny had a new zeal for life. It was a different look on it because of what he lost. So his love is different. It's more intense. He's more passionate. He's more intentional. And it's like super focused. And so I'm sorry, you all. My two oldest sons are sitting over there making faces. So I'm sorry. But yeah, it was just he was so intentional. And it made me feel even more love than I felt before. And I didn't even know that was possible, girl. This man would tell me in letters, he would describe how I laugh and how I carry myself. And at the time, I didn't even know. So I would just cry. Like, even being in different relationships while he was locked away, I'm like, nobody loves me like that. Right? Like, to the point where I would do stuff and I would start crying. So I'm just like, he said that I do this and I didn't even know I did this, right? So he just knew every detail about me, And sometimes he sleep, I just study his face. So I'm starting to feel what he's always known and what he's felt for me. And so I'm starting to, at a mature level, even begin to learn to love him that intensely and that passionately. And it's really, really a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You know what? It is. It really, I mean, you're talking about unique circumstances that allow you to not have to do that time, right? Which already, thank God, because I know how elated I was. And so I could, you're talking about that anxiety you felt right then. I can only imagine, Latrice, because the truth is that 13 years in our young adult life is a lot, right? It's so foundational. But here you guys are today. And first off, I didn't say nothing about it, but these couples are coming through. Let's just make sure we can see this on the wide side, because their outfits are on point. Okay. The navy blue and the tan is working, and the jean, I'm loving it. I had to point that out. And Omari would definitely appreciate the Mariners hat. Okay. But I understand that that's what it is. It's like a secret sauce. And when you actualize it, when you realize, like, man, no matter what, I've had different relationships. You guys both had marriages, but there was something so special about the other that you had to make sure you manifested. So tell us about it. I mean, you guys get your separate divorces, and then you guys are like, okay, we're about to do this. At what point, how long ago was that for you guys, Kenny?
That was about a little over 2 years ago. It's going on, a little bit over. Probably about three, close to 3, because I've been out almost about 4 now. This month it'll be 4. So yeah, it was a little bit over 3, and we kind of pretty much just jumped right back in it. Like, you know, it wasn't
Maybe
no
too quick.
hesitation, wasn't no double dutching, waiting for that. We just jumped in head first, and it's been what it is since.
Yeah.
So if I can add to that,
Yeah,
I think, and I would say, and I say this, so I started seeing him before my divorce was final, but I was having challenges getting my divorce signed by my ex-spouse. And so I jumped in it probably sooner than. I don't recommend this. I'm talking to y'all. I don't recommend dating before your divorce is final. Kenny's a different story. What we have is unique. I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't him. So although I did it, I do want to tell people I don't recommend that you do that. Allow your heart to heal. My unique circumstance was very unique, as I believe God did some healing and mending of my heart in the transition. So I wasn't bitter or broken, and I just, and whatever residue was left over, he loved me to that whole space all over again. God knew what he was doing when he reconnected us. And so I truly believe that, and I will say, as a woman who loves women, Black women, and loves to empower women, I can be authentic and real and say it was challenging for me because, and I would tell him, like, yes, the circumstance was what it was, but this is a woman that's loved you and been down for you for all these years. And a part of me, it's not like I felt bad, but a part of me was just like, dang, like, I don't want her to hurt, right? But this is us. Like, you have to understand what we have and who we are foundationally, to understand it. But it was challenging for me as a woman who loves and empowers other women to know that there was another woman hurting.
yeah.
Right. And
That was
so
difficult. That was a difficult time for me just making that decision. Like, I lost like 14 pounds. I wasn't eating. Like, all my little prison muscles went this sucked all the way up. It was extremely difficult because I knew that was gonna crush somebody's world, But it wasn't solely based on getting with Latrice,
it wasn't at the time.
Yeah, we had our difficulties. I was getting pulled in directions too, but I had to, stay strong as much as I possibly could. And I knew eventually that I possibly wouldn't be able to stay as strong as I was. And that started to create dissension between her and I. And then things just kind of went left. And I was just like, you know what? I know there's something out there that I've always wanted. And it's there. And I know I can't stay away from it. I'm just, that was kind of like a motivating factor in saying, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go for it, because I feel like at the end of the day, she's worth it. And then there was no way for us to stay friends had I stayed married, like, period. But there was like no way for me to stay away from her had I stayed married. It was like a conundrum. I was caught, and it was a catch-22. So.
But that's the part of it too, right? And then as you said, through your previous relationships, you have 2 sons, right? And so, Kenny, now you're coming into this, ready-made family to a certain degree. How has that been for you? Because that's something that I think is really unique for every situation. Yet there's some foundational elements there in terms of that acceptance of your children now, right?
I have 3 boys.
Wow.
When he came in.
That's right. 3.
And I had conversations with him like, check this out, homeboy. You ain't got none. Your situation over there was much different. Do you need to go ahead? If I'm here, I'll be here. But, I told him, if you want to pursue me, this is what it is, and I didn't think that he would want to be up for the task. Honestly, I'm like, you don't even have none. I'm sitting here telling him, bro, you know what you could be doing? You ain't got no kids. Like, did I not?
I knew.
I told him straight up, like, do you want to sell your Roy Holtz? Like, you've been locked up for a minute. Do you want to be single? Like, I had all these conversations with him. Like, if this is what you need to do, then do it, but don't come over here and don't be ready for what's over here. Right. And so we had those conversations. And so
But life is our best teacher, you know. I knew even then once when we separated earlier and I was pursuing other women that this is like, it's almost like meaningful. You know, there's no value in what I'm doing. And it's like now I'm getting out. I can sell my Oreos, I can do all this, be here, do that, do this and do that. But still at the end of the day, the value of her is gonna outweigh all that. So it's like, why even chase that? Why even waste my time? Because I'm getting older. I do want kids. You know, both of us are getting older. I do want kids, so or a kid. You know, don't get no ideas.
you don't get no ideas. Don't be fronting for the people. He's the one that wants another one.
I do. That was a
Don't
joke.
front
That
for the
was
people.
a joke. I do, but stepping into the ready-made family was pretty seamless. What's crazy is I had seen her having a kid when I was inside. I told her she was gonna get pregnant. I seen it before it even happened. And I remember the day she had actually came up to visit me, and she told me she was pregnant. She didn't really tell me. It was like an organic conversation, and a couple other people were pregnant at the time. I had heard about it, and I was just like, man, everybody's getting pregnant. And I'm looking at her, and then just the look on her face, and I was like, nah, man, you're pregnant. And she was just like, yeah. And I remember that day. That was like one of those days that it wasn't how I felt. It wasn't a great feeling. I was supportive for her in the moment. You know, I didn't let her see how it was actually making me feel. But I know when I went back to that cage, whoa, I was like, God damn, man, this is over with. I was supposed to be me.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be me. You know, and that stung. Like that cut me deep. It took me a little bit to shake that off, you know, but I shook it off. And even coming out, it's like I'm gonna accept, you know, any facets or that are part to her, period. And you know, the older boys, they're pretty easy to deal with. They're athletes. We connect on that level because, you know, I have that same athletic gene in me too as well. The younger, her third youngest, Liam, he's a handful, but he's so much fun, so intelligent and smart. And then, you know, now we have, you know, our my little Kenny, we call him 3. So yeah, he's a mess too. He's a mess.
You guys, it's so warming my heart because this is exactly what I'm talking about. When you know that something is for you, there is no barrier to it.
Right.
You know, there is no matter what the difficulties are, you're ready to take them on because it's for you.
Right.
That's the real beauty of it. And clearly you guys got to a point where you guys really became one. Tell us about that engagement, Latrice.
Girl, I was planning my own engagement party. So Kenny was turning 40. I knew that he was locked away so long. So he never had a party. Like, I want to throw him something. Like, if it wasn't for COVID, it would have been crazy. Yeah. Right. And so I had, when I tell you, personalized favors, I had custom candles. Like, it was real. Like, the house was lit, literally. It was low lit LED light, candles everywhere. It was dope. And so this guy had talked to my 2 oldest sons first, got their permission, talked to my papa, got his hand for my hand, got permission, and FaceTimed all the family, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, that was the closest friends. So Shonda, Misha, you know, and everyone knew, apparently, about this, you know, ring that he had purchased, and he was going to propose on his 40th birthday at his party. And so here I am. I'm doing the circle of, you know, love, where I like to, you know, have people go around and give him his flowers while he's here. So, you know, share something. And he had, you know, all of his family there. And so I'm like, share about Kenny, share a memory or just words of wisdom or encouragement or just love on him, you know. And I had him sitting in the chair with his crown on and this king's moment, right? And I'm all, you know, well, Mom, you go, and then, you know, or Mom, you can wrap it up, or I'll wrap it up, right? And this guy turns around, and I'm thinking he's, you know, thank you for everybody and your kind words, you know. And then he starts talking to me, and I'm looking at him like, no, baby, this is about you. Like, you can tell me, I'm thinking, you can tell me all that later, babe. No, you're okay. Oh, baby, you know, girl, this guy gets on it. I said, you got to be kidding me. I made this huge moment for him, and he turns around and makes it about us and our love, and then about me. And it was very overwhelming. It was beautiful. I cried. Everybody was like, you got to use the words. Because I'm just like, yes. And everybody, you got to say the words. And I'm choking out the yes. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, kudos to you, Kenny, because you knew how to utilize that moment for something where it's going to sneak up on her, but yet everybody's there that already loves you guys. You know what I mean? So kudos to that. And of course, after this break, we get to give you guys a moment to express your love to one another. We love to end it that way and really let you guys take center stage. Everybody, stay tuned after this break. You're watching Black Love When We Met. Welcome back, everybody, to Black Love When We Met. I'm your host, Trey Holiday. And now is the point in the show where we get to give these lovebirds, the Wyatts, the opportunity to express their love for one another. I'll go ahead and start with you, Latrice.
Oh, you would start with me. Okay. Oh, put me on the spot. My dearest Kenneth, and I always say my dearest Kenneth, because that is how my heart truly feels. You are so near and dear to me, as you know. I appreciate you for not allowing me to be mediocre. You always give me the freedom to be authentically who I am. You remind me that I am more than capable and more than able, and that I will do whatever it is that I set my mind to do. You never let me forget how beautiful I am in any moment. You never forget to show me love and compassion. I am grateful for you, for your perseverance. I am grateful for you, for how resilient you are, for your heart for me, and not only for me, but for our sons. You do anything that you need to do. You show up for me before I ask or even know what I need. You're present, and I appreciate that. And gosh, I could say so much, but I love you. You are my forever, my first and forever love, because this is why it's meant to be. But I do. I love you, baby. I appreciate you. Thank you for loving me like the agape, pure, untainted, no matter what adverse challenges come our way. I know you love me. Like, you love me. And there is no greater love than other than God has for us than a man for a woman. And I appreciate that. So thank you for loving me.
You're worth it.
You're worth it.
Tracy. Grace. Her grace is something I marvel at. She loves me or at times where I don't need to be loved, or when I'm acting out, or whatever it is, the grace that she shows is unparalleled. And I can't thank God enough for that blessing and that characteristic in you. Like, I can't, just the grace that she gives and shows to me, towards everybody. It's just something that I always stand in awe in. And it's always been there. That's something that I felt when you kissed me on them steps. That was your grace. That was that feeling that, has always been there, but now I know what it is. And even as we grow and we mature and into this bond relationship, I just thank God for you every day. You've been a blessing to me. You show me what real love is. It's just, sometimes I can't even quantify in words what it is you do for us, for our family, and what you do for me. I just can't thank you enough for being here for me and seeing me when I don't see myself. Thank you, baby.
The love is real up here in the building, you guys. I can't thank you both enough
It was an honor. Thank
It
you.
was.
for being here. I mean, as soon as I said, oh my gosh, one of the first things I said to Latrice is, you got to do this show. And I'm so glad that your job postponed you leaving, because you
Yes.
almost weren't even here.
Yes, yes.
So, you know what? Thank you guys so much for being your authentic selves and for really showing us what it can look like to have that resilience of love at a young age, go through all that you have that separation, but know wholeheartedly that it was meant to be the same way that you guys felt it as young people.
Right.
And really, I'm so honored to know you both. And you guys have been my sister and my brother. Oh, don't get me to cry. I just love y'all.
Love you
And
too,
I'm
Trey.
so glad that this platform could be utilized to showcase you guys' true love.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I'm
We
grateful.
appreciate you.
I love
And
you.
we
Grateful
love
for
you
the
too.
opportunity.
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. You guys, I'm telling you, this entire week has been more than I can even say. I am so grateful to all of our couples, also grateful to our partners. Once again, the State Hotel, thank you so much for your partnership for Black Love When We Met, and giving all of our couples an amazing stay at an amazing hotel right here in our amazing city. Also, shout out to Alvin Ailey for showing our couples what a great date night can look like, with some great performances live on stage. They're getting excited to come and see this show, and I encourage all of you to get your tickets to Alvin Ailey on the 26th and 27th of this month. And also my guy, G Prez, Presidential in the building. Thank you so much for Presidential Transportation also partnering with us. I also just want to give you all some love out there, what we're feeling right here in the studio. Thank you for watching. I'm so excited for tomorrow's episode. We're going to close the week out with Aaron and Quinn. They're going to be telling us about all things that have inspired their love. So I can't wait for you guys to join us for that episode tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Thank you guys so much for watching. Much love always. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.